Well, good morning. Welcome to Common Thread, to our weekly meditation. In both our lessons and guided reflections for these few weeks, we're taking seriously the invitation that's being extended to us by this global pandemic to recalibrate, to re-examine our priorities and our values, what's important. Well, today is another self-examination meditation, so you're going to want to pause and get something to write with. So in our last meditation, we explored a very common but usually unconscious American story that we tell ourselves, that we earn the right to rest. Buy into that narrative, and sure enough, we fall prey to what Socrates called the barrenness of a busy life. Barrenness of a busy life. So today, let's examine busyness in our lives. Because get out of balance, work and rest, doing and not doing, and it's easy to fool ourselves into believing that we're being productive when in fact something much less helpful is going on. So let's today examine busyness, and in particular how we, each of us, get lured into the busyness trap. But let's begin, as we did last week, quieting our minds and our bodies, and doing that by paying attention to sound. Pay attention to the sounds that are going on around you, right where you are. Be mindful of what you hear. With a relaxed body and a slower breath, give your full attention to listening. Noticing the sounds and the spaces between the sounds. Full focus given to listening, resting, and listening, resting, and hearing. And when a thought comes up, something other than a listening thought, as soon as you notice it happen, simply return, focusing again on what you hear. We're not naming the sounds, we're not commenting to ourselves about the sounds, we're just hearing. Simple attention to what we hear. Right here sounds, right now sounds. Take a moment. Now each personality is going to tend to get busy in a different way. That earn our rest narrative that we talked about last time, it's in the mix. It's in the mix a lot. But we all tend to get waylaid by busyness in slightly different ways. Different traps that we fall into. So that's our self-examination today and this week. How does the busyness trap, how does it happen to you? Let's begin with just that question. How do I get waylaid by busyness? Now in a bit I'll name some common ways for us to explore, but beginning broadly, maybe pausing the recording. When you say yes to the things that make you too busy, what's going on inside? Why do I say yes? What's the payoff I think that I'll get? Take a few moments, again, maybe pause the recording, and if something occurs to you, be sure and jot it down. Okay, here are a few common stories that we tell ourselves that get us sucked into the barrenness of a busy life. If you're not busy, you're wasting time. Now, as propositions go, that's a very challengeable one, and maybe challenging it later would be helpful, but for now, we're just asking the question, is that story going on inside of me? If I'm not busy, I'm wasting time. And if you see yourself doing it, if there's an episode that comes to mind, go ahead, write it down. Again, pause if you need more time. Here's another. Busyness is status. Important people, relevant people, movers and shakers, busy. Busy is a badge of honor. How about that story? Is that story yours? And again, if you see an example, write it down. If I'm not busy, people will judge me. People will look down on me. People will consider me less than. Take a moment. If I'm not busy, I'm not fulfilling my potential. I'm not doing big things, important things with my life. If I slow down, if I rest, I'll miss stuff. I'll miss fun stuff or better option stuff. How about that story? Does it run inside? Again, if there are examples, write them down. Here's a common one. I should not need that much rest. We have some expectation of ourselves that we should not have to stop. We should be able to keep going. I used to be able to, or so-and-so does this, or I should be able to. I shouldn't need this much or that much rest. Is that story inside? Does it run busyness for you? Here's a very common busyness trap: staying busy to avoid something. To not have to deal with something that I feel inside, some bad relationship, something I'm afraid is going to happen, or something that has happened. You ever find that busyness is serving as an avoidance strategy for you? And if so, this would be an important one to pause and write down, what is it that I'm avoiding? And Inner Divine, may we have eyes that see this week. See what we so often miss, what so often stays unseen. May we see the drivers behind our busyness. Amen. Now again, this is a moment of historical invitation to recalibrate. So this week, let's explore our busyness instinct so that we can. Now, as I said earlier, most of our busyness driving stories are very challengeable. We'll explore what they are this week, maybe talk together through the week about how we might challenge those stories. Well, I'll see you in the chat group. I'll see you next week. Have a growing week.